Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are going to completely flip the script on how you think about those hours you spend with your eyes closed. For so long, we've just treated sleep as this blank space in our schedules, right? Like an inconvenient pause button we're forced to hit at the end of a long day. But today, we are going to unpack the absolute fascinating biology behind what is actually happening when you go to bed. And I promise you, by the end of this, you won't just see sleep differently. You're going to understand it as literally one of the most powerful tools you have for your mind and your overall lifespan.
So here's a question. Is sleep just your brain simply powering down, like a laptop closing its lid? Well, if you think sleep is just this passive waste of time or your body simply switching off, prepare to have that myth completely shattered today. The truth is, your brain is doing anything but shutting down. It is actually embarking on a highly active, incredibly critical night shift.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 1, the myth of passive sleep; 2, the brain's night shift; 3, the mood and stress loop; 4, protecting long-term health; and finally, 5, sleep as a life skill. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the myth of passive sleep. Redefining rest. We really have to kick things off by totally redefining what is actually happening when you lie down in bed to rest. Sleep is not time lost. It is biological maintenance that makes waking life possible. I absolutely love that quote. The main pattern to remember here is that sure, you aren't moving, but your internal system is doing vital work. It's doing the kind of work that is either way too expensive, too noisy, or honestly, just too dangerous to do well while you're awake and moving around. It's a massive, coordinated process supporting multiple systems at once. And when you miss out on it, the whole entire system starts to wobble. Which brings us to section 2, the brain's night shift, cleanup and sorting. Because your brain definitely does not just clock out at night. It literally changes jobs to handle critical cleanup and sorting. Picture a restaurant kitchen right in the middle of a Friday night dinner rush. It is absolute chaos, right? Pans are flying, grease is splattering everywhere. Well, that's your awake brain. Your sleeping brain is that exact same kitchen after closing, getting meticulously scrubbed down and reset. Every single time your brain fires during the day, it creates chemical byproducts. Your awake brain just accumulates all this chemical waste. Sleep gives the brain the perfect environment to scrub that buildup completely clean. And this perfectly explains why skipping sleep gives you that awful mental fog. You aren't just feeling tired. Your brain is literally trying to cook a 5-star meal in a filthy, uncleaned kitchen. Or, think of it like your smartphone. Imagine leaving a dozen heavy apps running all day long. The device gets super hot, the battery drops off a cliff, and suddenly everything is lagging. Your highly active brain cells are exactly like that. Sleep is that critical recharge and reset period to prevent performance from slowing down. It supports all the tiny processes that keep your brain cells functioning reliably. Without that basic maintenance, your system might still turn on, but it's going to run with way, way less stability. Let's talk about memory for a second, because this is fascinating. During the day, you take in a massive amount of information. It's like a photographer coming back with thousands of messy, unsorted photos. Well, sleep acts as the editing room. Your brain uses this quiet time to sift through all that daily noise, and it decides, okay, which of these faint traces of memory should we strengthen into reliable paths, and what useless junk can we just let fade away? This is exactly why pulling an all-nighter to cram for a test never, ever works. I mean, sure, you gathered all the photos, but you completely skipped the editing room process. Okay, let's do a super quick midpoint recap. Stripping away the complex biology, here is the ultimate cheat sheet. What does sleep do? It clears buildup, which helps the brain stay efficient. It restores balance, supporting stable thinking and mood. It reinforces useful patterns, which massively improves learning and memory. It reduces noise so your brain can actually focus on what matters. And it recalibrates your control systems to support your emotions, judgment, and body regulation. Bottom line, sleep keeps the brain clean, stable, organized, and totally primed for tomorrow. All right, section 3, the mood and stress loop, emotional recalibration. So now that we get the physical cleanup part, it makes total sense why mood isn't just psychological. It is a highly physical brain state that demands emotional recalibration. We have all had those mornings after a terrible night's sleep, right? Where small problems suddenly feel absolutely massive. Like a delayed email feels like a personal attack. Why does that happen? Imagine a well-rested brain as a high-end sound system with perfectly balanced volume. When your sleep maintenance is cut short, your emotional sound system loses its balance completely. It's like someone cranked the treble way too high and the bass is just deafening. Sleep deprivation adds literal static to your emotional processing, so a minor mistake suddenly feels like a total disaster. Your brain basically just loses its buffer. And honestly, this can quickly turn into a brutal cycle. It's a bidirectional loop.
High stress makes falling asleep so much harder, and in turn, poor sleep makes your baseline stress feel 100 times worse. The gears of the system literally catch on each other, making the whole machine run rougher and the problem entirely self-reinforcing. I really want you to reframe those daily emotional struggles. It's not a personal failing or a character flaw. It's just two gears catching in an under-maintained system. You aren't losing your mind, you're just operating a system that desperately needs recalibration. Let's zoom out a bit for Section 4, Protecting Long-Term Health, the Longevity Connection. Time to look at the incredibly powerful link between nightly rest and your actual lifespan. Think of your body as a living building. Just going about your day naturally accumulates wear and tear. Regular sleep is like having a scheduled maintenance crew come in every single night to check the wiring and fix the foundation. But chronic sleep loss, that is deferred maintenance. When you skip sleep, you are putting off repairs on things like inflammation, stress hormones, and tissue damage. And over the years, this deferred maintenance slowly but surely raises the biological cost of keeping you alive, seriously increasing the likelihood of chronic problems down the road. It's super important to realize this affects your longevity in two distinct ways. First, directly through your biology, like we just talked about with body regulation, but it also affects you indirectly through the decisions a tired brain makes. Let's be real, when you're exhausted, that glazed donut suddenly looks way better than a salad, right? You move less, you skip the gym, you reach for those quick energy fixes, meaning the long-term risk to your longevity is shaped by both your internal biology and your external, exhausted behavior. Which brings us to our final stop. Section 5, Sleep as a Life Skill, a New Paradigm. We have got to stop looking at sleep as this vague wellness tip, like something that's nice to have if we ever magically find the time. We need to start treating it as an essential life skill. Here is the new definition we're working with. Sleep is a biological process that protects performance, health, and future capacity. Once you adopt this new paradigm, you can finally stop just noticing the symptoms, like waking up with a foggy brain or snapping at a coworker, and start diagnosing the actual root pattern, an unmaintained system. So I want to leave you with a final thought to really chew on. The next time you find yourself with a crazy short fuse or some unexplainable anxiety, or you just can't focus to save your life, ask yourself this: am I asking my brain and body to perform without giving them enough maintenance? Seriously, are you demanding elite, world-class performance from a city that hasn't even been allowed to clean its streets? Understand the system, respect the maintenance it absolutely requires, and I promise you, it will completely change the way you live your waking life. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.